Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City. And with me today is a man on summer vacation but stuck at home, Logan Stump. How are you, Logan?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Jordan, do they have a lot of salt there? I've always been pretty curious about
Tons
Salt
of
Lake.
tons of salty people too.
Oh yeah, I've always wondered that. Like, do they have a lot of salt? Is there a lot of lakes? Like, is it lakes with salt in it? That just confuses me.
Haven't seen much of that at 3 a.m. Mountain time is when we got to the shuttle, and it was all totally dark out. So the shuttle driver's trying to give us a tour of the city, and he's like, over here is this thing. You can't see anything. He's like, that's a good Mexican restaurant over there. That was the only thing I could see. So
Was it like Taco Bell or something?
no, it's called Rancherito.
Oh, okay,
Or something.
that's good.
I don't know. But yeah, it's been good. So I am going to the Salt Lake Columbus Crew game, as we've mentioned tons of times. So I will be there on Saturday. So should be a lot of fun. Shuttle drivers talking a lot of sports. Did not mention Real Salt Lake at all.
Oh, that's a shame.
He's talking about Jordan Love on the Packers because he played at Utah or something. Talked about the Jazz, which apparently I'm right across from their stadium, so guess I'll check out that. But yeah, it should be good. So today we'll be talking a whole bunch of week 15 of the MLS season, back from the international break. And there was one Open Cup game, and then there's Open Cup games coming up today, the day we're recording this. And then we'll preview the weekend matches and get out of here. So the first game I want to kind of talk about was just the Sporting Kansas City Nashville game. That was one that was very interesting to me because SKC had not won a road game all season. Nashville, has this stretch of home games due to the new stadium, and they are, that's where you want to pick up your points. But unfortunately, they weren't really able to in this game. But also, there was a shout for a late penalty here. There was actually a penalty awarded, Logan, late in the game. I thought it was a dive. It was reviewed and then given the go-ahead. Then Roger Espinoza from Kansas City is messing with the ball, standing in front of Mukhtar, really just full CONCACAF here. And then this causes enough delay for VAR to review it again and notice an offside in the build-up, preventing the penalty to be taken. So I want to get your thoughts on this because my thought is I want the call to be right, so it shouldn't have been a penalty anyway. But for me, I feel like there's got to be some sort of time limit of, all right, if we've already reviewed it and gave it the go-ahead, we can't find something later just because somebody else is stalling, because I feel like more people might start doing that. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get to a point where if VAR is going to happen and you can just delay anything from being, free kicks from being taken or penalties from being taken or whatever it might be that's coming because of a VAR decision, whether that be a red card, yellow card, whatever it might be, whatever the decision is going to be, it's kind of like just sitting there waiting. Like, could you imagine had this been something along the lines of a card that if a guy just, took deliberated and was able to just take his time and go, you know what, that might be a red card, and then gave a red card, the people would be up in arms. But with this, it's like, you're deciding that VAR can have as much time as needed. And then I think the longer you look at VAR, this would be kind of like if you're looking at handball as well.
The more you find.
Yeah, the more you're going to be like, okay, yeah, then I guess that's it. Because the harder you look at something, it's like we were just, my wife and I just started watching Ted Lasso again, like me again. It's her first time. And There's a point where Ted and Beard start talking like about words, and they're just like, "Is that a word? Like, is word?" And they just keep saying the same words over and over, and they're like, "That's not a word." It's kind of like that. Like it has that instance of like, if you just keep talking about it and keep reviewing it, eventually you're going to find problems with it. So I've got big issues with that. I think a time limit is warranted in this kind of situation. I think NFL is the only major sport that I think gives a time limit for review calls. I think they've got a time limit. I think it's like 3 or 4 minutes. Whereas NBA, like there's been times in the NBA and MLB, Jordan, where we've sat around and waited for, I mean, maybe 10 minutes. Like there's been calls that I've seen go almost close to that. And that's just, it becomes, a slow pace of game. Those don't do well here in the States. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But this, I agree with you. It was definitely a dive. I don't think anything should have come of it. But again, I think it shouldn't have taken this long because the fact that it did take this long, it kind of makes you question what was going on. What kind of conversations did it start as like, no, this is not a penalty. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's a penalty.
Yeah, for it to, if it was going to be reviewed too, it could have been reviewed for, like, I want to know why the dive wasn't the reason it wasn't a penalty. They had to go look for, an offside in the buildup that they apparently didn't notice until people are stalling. I don't know. It just seemed like a very messy VAR thing, which we're not really used to here compared to some of the stuff we saw in England, right?
Yeah.
Where VAR is really shocking at times. I feel like it's been better here, but this year I feel like it's taken a step backwards. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. But definitely an issue overall with VAR. Got the call right in the end, which is what we want, but it just stalled way too much time. Actually, I was live tweeting this game and I had a tweet ready to go saying like, Hani Mukhtar makes it 2-2. And I was just waiting to send it because they were getting ready to take the penalty. And then they're like going to review it. And I'm like, all right, delete, just in case. And then I started typing about how it wasn't going to be given. And then I just pressed send when that was confirmed. But, and I debated that even setting up the tweet. So it really took a long time for them to get this sorted out. I don't have any minute timestamp, but it did take a bit. The Union get dominated by Cincinnati and lose what they had a lead to make it 1-0. They finish the game 1-1 at Subaru Park. Stat-wise, possession and I think shot-wise lean towards Cincy, but maybe the XG led to the Union. It was something where Union led in like one stat, right? So that's why I used dominated by Cincy there. Pat Noonan, by the way, Logan, has his Cincinnati team working hard and getting points. Chris Smith from 90 Min, who's been on our show plenty of times, pointed out on one of his tweets over the weekend, they're already at 6 wins and 20 points, 15 games into the season. That is already tying their best win tally. I only actually need 5 more points to beat their 24 points from 2019. So that's what 3 consecutive wooden spoons will do to you. It lowers the standards enough that you can get to your point total in 15 or 16 games. So just overall, Pat Noonan doing a great job at Cincinnati. Any thoughts here on Cincinnati as you're wearing your Cincinnati shirt right now?
Yeah, represent. No, I mean, I've been really impressed with him. I saw a lot of this game. I'll tell you what, Jim Curtin was in high praise of Pat as well. And I think that speaks volumes, especially in this league, because of how successful Jim's been. But you're right. I mean, it felt like Cincinnati, and not often in the last couple of years, obviously, have they ever felt in control. But it feels like every game now that I watch, they control it pretty well. And I think a big part of that is playing a little bit better defensively, but also having some kind of attack. I mean, their attack's gotten better. And behind Lucho, who's played really well this season. He's got 5 goals. Brandon Vasquez has 8 goals. Kind of been stuck on that spot for a while. But again, I think, with the added goal totals that they're getting, I think that's huge. And the consistency that they can have. But I do think Pat's got a lot to do with this. This is what we decided. This was maybe a weaker team in the preseason, maybe a little bit better than they were last season when we were talking about previewing them. And ultimately, I mean, it looks like they've kind of figured out different situations that work and just getting more consistent play. But I think a lot of this has to do with Pat Noonan being successfully, there you go, 13-13. So again, I think it speaks volumes to how good Pat Noonan is. And if you're another, organization out there, I mean, aren't you looking hard at the other assistant coaches that sit on Philly's bench going, all right, let's see who we can pluck off, because I'm pretty sure whatever they can provide is going to be better than what we currently have. So, but no, I'm all for Cincy playing well. They're going to be chasing down that 7th, 8th spot all season. I think it'll be a battle of those spots. I think if I'm looking at it and really kind of deep diving into what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. Atlanta, won the last game, so they're kind of back up into the mix of things. But again, I think it'll be mostly just Charlotte and Cincinnati kind of jockeying for a position there.
Yeah, they are currently sitting 8th with a game in hand to Charlotte, game in hand to New England as well. And they're even on points with Charlotte, so and only 3 behind of New England. So, I mean, if they do win, they can climb up there. I mean, it's crazy how fast New England has climbed, right? They were down with, like, the Crew and TFC for a bit.
Yeah.
And now they're up to 6th place in the East. So that's just how the East is pretty much year over year. But this year in particular, 13 points separate first and last. And from first to, where do I want to cut this off at? 11th is 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
First to 8th is 7 points. So it's a very wide open Eastern Conference right now. Going to the West, I guess. My notes are kind of all over the place with what I have listed first. But LAFC versus Seattle finished 1-1. Seattle's climbing up the West, Logan. They are in 7th place. They have a few games in hand as well. They have my screen just totally zoomed in too much. I'm trying to figure out how to zoom out of it. But yes, they sit 7th place. I have to go back to that page because that was not good. All right, yeah. So they sit 7th place in the West, while LAFC still sit first. But Seattle 20 points, 10 points back of the first place LAFC, and they are 5 points from bottom. Really, it seems like the East is closer from like first place to like right outside the playoff zone, all the way down to 11th. And I feel like for the West, it's like that 7th place to the 14th place is where they're all bunched up. You have Seattle with 20 points, Vancouver with 20 points in 8th place, and San Jose at the bottom with 15 points. Not a lot of wiggle room, but that's how Seattle was able to climb up, pretty quickly. And they still, like I said, have played 14 games while Nashville's played 16 and have 1 game in hand of most of the top of the West. What are your thoughts here on Seattle LAFC, which finished 1-1?
It was kind of like a weird game. I think early on it seemed like LAFC was more in control of possession. They seem to be getting more creative, more dangerous spots. And then all of a sudden, Seattle kind of settles down. Seattle controls it for a little bit. And then right before the half, Seattle really just controlled possession, really started to become dangerous. And then they kind of come out of the half, Seattle controlling it. And then LA kind of took over. So it was really strange. It was like back and forth, kind of like a 1-1 result, obviously. So I don't know. It was a game I was looking forward to. But it ended up being a game that I think, a lot of times these games will end up like this, where they're just kind of underwhelming, where all these big games have like this big build up to it, leading up into it. And the way that Seattle had been playing, I was kind of expecting Seattle to come out and really push the needle forward, because I think being at home and try to control, possession and maybe getting 3 points here against the top of the West would have been a better result for them. But again, I guess you take 1 point against LAFC, had 1-2 straight. So I don't know. It seemed like LAFC got out pretty luckily with just the 1 point. Because I think Seattle really had a chance there to really build themselves up. Because if they win, they grab 3 points there. I mean, they're 22 points, and they're now sniffing right behind Nashville with 2 games in hand. So,
yeah, Seattle. If we look at the XG, LAFC actually had better XG in this match by just 0.2, 1.5 to 1.3. I think it's a pretty fair result, 1-1. I mean, it's kind of back and forth from what I was seeing when I was watching this. Possession was pretty dead even, 52-48 to Seattle. Shots on target actually favored LAFC. 7 out of their 11 shots were on target to 5 out of 13 shots for Seattle. But, it was a Seattle home game, so you would want them to get the points if you're a Seattle fan. But I think when you're going up against the top of the West and you'd been so poor in the league, you won the CONCACAF Champions League, but being so poor in the league before this, I think you take that point against them because they're a good team and you just keep climbing that table. And I think they'll be fine. We'll talk about who they have coming up that they'll be facing off against next, but they have Kansas City at home for Seattle, so that should be some more points. But as we talked about, Sporting Kansas City just got their first road win. So who knows if they're on the up? Probably not, right? But
right.
But you never know. This league is kind of crazy that way. At another LA team, the Galaxy drew 1-1 against another Cascadian team, the Timbers. Timbers not as good, though, as Seattle. That game finished 1-1. Galaxy in 5th. Struggle against the Timbers, who are now second bottom of the West with only San Jose behind them, Logan. Before, it used to be Vancouver, I think, Sporting Kansas City all the way down there, and we're looking at San Jose and Portland. But Galaxy slipped to 5th, and we'll talk about their U.S. Open Cup as well, but they've had a win and a draw in their last 2, and then they're going to lose this Open Cup game. Just hasn't been good enough for the Galaxy after a really hot start to the season again.
Yeah, and that was a late goal from Galaxy to equalize. So, there's moments like, and it happened last year too. There's just moments where Galaxy goes stagnant because Chicharito's not scoring. I mean, everything hinges on the fact that he's able to score goals and score them consistently. Because without him, it just seems like every time we're watching Galaxy play, they're having a hard time, grabbing 2 or 3 goals. Like 1 goal and Galaxy's, looking at a draw because they just don't score enough. 17 goals and 15 appearances for the Galaxy. I mean, that's not good enough. You're not going to win many leagues like that, especially as you get into playoff time. Teams are just going to run you down. And you can't afford to lose out on that top playoff spot, the top 4. And right now they're sitting 5th and not looking pretty. And then you flip over the other side. I mean, these are 2, like you said, Jordan, these are 2 teams that have, in the past have had success. But now Portland, they look awful. Like they're SKC awful. So it's just a lot of these teams that we're used to being very successful, and had not Seattle gone on that run, we'd be looking on a very weak Cascadian region, which is not normal for us.
Well, yeah, because there's been a Cascadian team in MLS Cup since 2015 or whatever. Right. But I think when we look at it and we see, what was it at the beginning of the year when it was not fully beginning of the year, but we were kind of approaching maybe 7 or 8 games where only one, I think, playoff team from last year was in a playoff spot. Every other team was like a team that had not qualified for the playoffs last year. With LA Galaxy, I want to just say I do think they have that goal scorer that can help them when Chicharito is not. It's Jovic, right?
Yeah.
But they don't play him. They don't start him for
No.
whatever reason. I think he needs to be starting. I think he needs to be somehow forced up there with Chicharito. You have to find a way to make these two play together
Mm-hmm.
and score goals. He's got 4 goals in 13 appearances, and he's only
Yeah.
had 1 start, Logan.
Yeah. 294 minutes.
Yes.
That's a rate of 1.22.
minutes. And like you said, they have like for what FB Ref shows me is 18 goals in 15 games,
Mm-hmm.
but that's averaging just a little over 1 goal a game. It's not going to be good enough for for them to make that playoffs. This is they were even higher last year, I think, at this time, and they didn't start dropping until much later in the season. So they've got to figure it out, because they're really only 4 points off of falling off. Now, of course, that would take a team like the Rapids or like Vancouver, even maybe Minnesota and Houston, to really come up and challenge for that. But yeah, that's how it seems to be going with them.
And their big thing, LA's big thing last year was the fact that they really struggled to defend. I mean, the last couple of years they've really struggled to defend. But this year, I mean, they've only allowed 16 goals, which is tied for. I mean, if you there's 2 teams tied at 11, 2 teams tied at 15, and 2 teams tied at 16. So technically, they're tied for 3rd in goals given up. So it's like, what's going on? Well, it's got to be their scoring. And like you said, you've got to figure out a way. I mean, I think we've come to the point, right? Maybe LA hasn't, because they're just not willing to part ways with the fact that I don't think Chicharito's really one of those guys you can rely on for 30 some odd matches anymore. I think he's much more of the, you just hope you get a goal from him here or there, and you're using sparingly. Like you said, Jovic, I mean, it seems like you would at least give him a shot, right? I mean, 294 minutes, he's got 4 goals. The guy seems to always be in a really dangerous spot. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me that, and it's because Chicharito has that, that ability to once in a while find a goal that's really crucial to, doing well. But again, I think if you look, I have to look specifically, but I think if you look at his
Chicharito,
stats,
1,240 minutes, 6 goals. It's only 2 more goals in 1,000 more minutes, right? So you have to find a way to get Jovic on the field more to be able to provide those goals and assists that he does, because he also assists a few goals, while Chicharito hasn't this year. And Chicharito is not really a big assister usually either.
No.
It's like 2 or 3. I think his max is 4 assists from what I'm seeing right now, and that was with Manchester United 2013. And I like Chicharito. He scored 17 goals last year. I don't think he's going to get to that number this year. I think it's in a problem with Galaxy as a whole. I don't think it's fully him, but they have to have a way to have those two kind of coexist, and I think they would maybe start climbing up the table a little bit more.
Yeah. Jordan, April 16th. Since April 16th, Chicharito has 1 goal. He scored that goal against Austin in a 4-1 win, which usually, I mean, once you get to 2 or 3 goals and you start to pounce a team, you really have an easier time scoring goals. But since April 16th, that's now 2 months, he's only scored 1 goal. And that's concerning. I mean, and like you said, he's not going to give any assist. He didn't have any assists this year. He's just not the guy that, gets in the box and creates, and you get goals off of what he creates, because he's much more of like the fox in the box. He likes to get inside and just kind of knock things in that have gotten loose, get on the end of, balls that are shot through the box, kind of, getting his foot on the end of it and getting into the back post. He's just not one of those guys that create. So it's concerning, the fact that LA hasn't quite moved on. And Greg Vanney, the thing that shocks me the most, I think, is that Greg doesn't seem to be one of those guys that gets stuck in one of those, all right, he'll come around. He seems much more of a proactive rather than a reactive coach. I mean, Chicharito's 33. I love his story. I love him to death. I think he's a really great person. And, he's overcome some struggles, but it just seems like they're not going to go anywhere with him at the top, and they're not really creating any goals whatsoever.
Because they need creativity.
Yeah.
They need some more creativity to get Chicharito the ball into more of those spots. I'm not really sure what his stats are when I'm trying to find XG or whatever. His expected is 7.2 this year. He's at 6, so he's pretty dead on. He was a little overperformed last year with that XG, but without getting, I feel like he's not getting the chances to really put them away as much.
Now, on the flip side, do you think Gio Savarese is hot seat? I mean, it feels like we're finally to a point now where we can really start to talk about him.
It's really tough to say, I feel, because he's just had them in MLS Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide when it's just a bad year? And I feel like he has until next year. If next year they come out this flat and they're this bad, then yeah, I think he's gone. But I don't think we can really say anything right now. I don't see, like, Vermees obviously is a no. I don't think he's getting fired.
Yeah.
I don't think Savarese will either. I think that's rough, especially in this league, to be like, well, you just got a MLS Cup. And, then we got rid of mid-season also last year. We got rid of a Bobasi who's got 9 goals this year. And we didn't really bring anybody in to help you. Their highest goal scorer is Tuoloma.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
I think that'd be really harsh.
What's what's really strange is Charlotte's out here firing their coach midway through the season. You've got other clubs like San Jose who held on too long. Like you're right. I wonder, I'd love to have somebody on in the front office, and hopefully eventually we get to that point where we can have somebody on and either that or like a former GM and go, how do you know? How do you know when it's time? Because I feel like, and I do feel that a lot of these managers get more leeway because of the success that they've had rather than the success that they're having. So I wonder at what point does the GM go, yeah, today's the day. I'm tired of losing. Is it enough losses? Is it 5 losses in a row and you're going, yeah, this might be it? Or is it maybe 10 losses or something like that out of 20? Where do you decide that, right? Where do you decide, this is the time to cut loose? Because, Mar, hell, they just fire him because he looked at him wrong, I think. So, I don't know.
I will say I think it's Heath out time. His contract ends at the end of this year. I think they're not going to fire him. I think he's just going to walk away.
But be better for everybody.
11th place. Let's not forget, last year, they made the playoffs, right? Barely.
Stumbled in.
Well, yeah, they didn't. They weren't hot, but the 2020, they were one game away from MLS Cup. Let's see, where did they finish last year? Last year they were 5th seed. Lost to Timbers 3-1. Got knocked out in the first round. When we look at 2020. Now, 2020 was an odd year, so maybe that's part of it, right? But they finished 4th in the West. They beat the Rapids. They beat SKC, and they lose to Seattle 3-2 after having, I believe it was a 2-0 lead. I'm trying to double-check that off my memory here. But they had, Reynoso in the 29th minute, Dabasi in the 67th, and then Will Bruin in the 75th, Rio Diaz in the 89th, and Svensson in the 90+3 for Seattle. That was a great game, by the way. If people haven't seen that, look up the highlights of that. But the story of Adrian Heath could have gone totally differently, right? If he gets to that final, maybe wins that final against the Crew, probably wouldn't. But if they had, then I think maybe people would look at his time a little differently. I think most of Minnesota is becoming more Heath out. I haven't really talked to Jack about it, but we know we had Mark Fangmeyer on before, right? He's very adamantly Heath out if you follow him on Twitter. So they're in 11th place. They finished, 5th last year. They're in 11th right now, which is only 2 points back of 7th. So they still can get in. But it's an increasingly tight race there, and eventually some of these teams are going to drop off. And when you're only 2 points above SKC, who were like historically bad for SKC, and everybody was like, what's going on with them? They're really bad. Then that's not great to only be 2 points above them. So I don't know. I think he's going to be gone at the end of the year, and they're going to have to reinvigorate that squad. This Minnesota team should not be in the state it is. I don't have any ideas on how to fix it, I guess. Reynoso hasn't really been the force he was, right? In the past, Robin Lod is the top goal scorer with 6. Dane St. Clair had really bad goalkeeping in the New England game where, again, they had a lead, I think it was, right? Mm-hmm. Until they blew that. They had Reynoso, 37th minute penalty. And then Borio in the 53rd minute and Gustavo Bo with a great finish in the 69th. So I would be more Heath out, I think, than I think he's the closest one that's going to get fired compared to any other manager at this time. Let's go to Red Bulls, I think, first. Let's get back to our weekly thing. We kind of went with the coaches there for a bit. But Red Bulls now second in the East. First in the East is NYCFC, and they have an Open Cup match tonight the day we're recording this. So that should be fun. Plus, I'm really excited for that game in July I'm going to now at Red Bull Arena for the Hudson River Derby, because that is going to be, if they keep it up, almost a battle for the top of the East, because the Union have just been not so great at home this year, which is kind of usually what they need to be able to be, a little bit more relevant to the East standings. And that's where the Red Bulls currently sit. Lewis Morgan leads the team with 7 goals, but they went ahead and beat Toronto 2-0, who is still struggling. They're in 12th place. Bob Bradley, maybe you could say hot seat. I think with year one of a team, it's going to be not hot seat. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll have at least next year or 2 years to be able to turn that around. What are your thoughts on Red Bulls or Toronto?
Red Bull, I'm excited for you because I think that NYCFC Hudson River Derby is going to be excellent, just because they both score really well. They both have had a track record in 2022 of scoring, but also defending. I mean, NYCFC's only allowed 11 goals. They sit at the top of the league as far as defense with Union. The Red Bull not far behind, 17 goals given up. And NYCFC hasn't played as many games. Red Bull have 2 games over them. So, I mean, that I figured would kind of even out, maybe a goal or 2 given up by NYCFC, and it puts it even closer. So Jordan, you might even be looking at the cream of the crop of both sides right now in both conferences.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really getting to see RSL in a time where they're as hot as they've ever been. And then you're going to go home and see, the Hudson River Derby, and they're about as hot as possible too with NYCFC.
Hopefully they keep it up, because it's mid-July I'm going. So hopefully
you should like it. It's 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah, 2 weeks or so.
I mean, you should be in luck though. Like I feel, but man, you're really getting to see some of the best teams square off. The great thing about MLS is, and I'm just speaking on assumption here, Jordan, but the great thing about MLS is you're just not breaking the bank to have to go see these premier matchups. And really, I mean, you get good seats and good experiences, especially Red Bull Stadium. I've never been, obviously, to what is it, Dick's Sporting Goods over there?
No, Rio Tinto.
Rio Tinto, that's right. Sorry. Oh God, they're gonna kill me for that.
Dick's is Colorado. You messed up Colorado and Utah.
You punk. Sorry, YouTube.
Because they both have mountains.
Yeah.
Same. But yeah, so I'm excited to see both of these things. But yeah, I didn't have to pay I guess it was like $60 a ticket.
That's not bad at all.
For like very nice mid-level seats for the game.
Also, on the Toronto side, I guess Insigne is now going to be here.
True. So starting in July.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Opens. I believe he's flying over next week, or is he here already? I don't remember. But I remember them tweeting about it, saying like this is impending, like him flying over and being ready. And as soon as that happens, I mean that's just going to put a new spark into Toronto. I don't think they'll finish last, but I do think they'll kind of finish right where they are. Seems pretty realistic with the other two teams behind them, but I don't know. I'm excited about that. That's really all I got for Toronto. I don't really know what else to be excited
Not
for.
much to say about them right now. Austin beat Montreal 1-0. Austin went down a man in the 44th minute, but still were able to edge them out. They currently sit third. They're kind of hanging in that top three spots. They've been bouncing between, first, second, and third, fourth all season. But they actually have a game in hand of RSL, and they're 1 point behind them. So they could, with the game in hand, conceivably. But when you look at RSL, 4 wins in their last 5. Austin, 2 wins in their last 5 with 2 losses and a draw. So definitely one is in more form than the other right now. So we'll see how that goes for them going forward. Anything about those two teams? Montreal, they were hot for a bit, but they're down to 5th in the East.
Yeah, I mean, again, it really just depends on how healthy Mihailovic can be. I guess going through a spell here where I don't think he played in this last one. I'll have to check the stats. I could be wrong on that. But I mean, again, he's had that ankle issue, so it's like, can he stay healthy enough throughout the year? Because if he can't, Jordan, it becomes like that Hani Mukhtar situation we talk about relentlessly whenever we talk about Montreal. I just don't think they've got enough without him right now playing at that level that he is. So they really can't afford any kind of missed time with Jordy. But I don't know. Austin, feel pretty confident in the way that they played. I think they kind of had a little bit of a tougher stretch as of late, very kind of up and down. But I think over the next couple of games, they can get healthy and kind of bounce back up towards the top. But with RSL playing the way they are and LAFC being as good as they can be, I think it's going to be tough.
Crew, they draw with Charlotte. One Crew led in the 41st minute. Charlotte equalized in 49 through Shinashiki. It's a win and a draw for Charlotte since firing MAR, and they sit 7th. But the Crew are currently sitting 11th, Logan, but they're bringing in Cucho Hernandez, Colombian player. He's 22 years old, coming over from Watford, by the way, where he played in 25 matches, but only played 1,147 minutes. That's less minutes than what Chicharito has played this season for the Galaxy. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists. So pretty good amount of goals and assists for as many minutes as he's playing. It's kind of even with what Chicharito's giving, but at a level at the Premier League for Watford. And also Watford's not a team that was playing like super thrilling soccer, to my knowledge, when I watched them. So I think this is a good move for them. He's usually a winger, I think they said, but they might be putting him more centrally. That's what I was reading in an article today. But it's about a $10 million transfer fee, and it shows that MLS can not only bring over South Americans from their natural, like their leagues, native leagues, but they can actually compete and bring a player from Watford over to the Columbus Crew. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, how Crew have stalled a bit, or how Charlotte has done since MAR, but also this transfer?
I get the hesitancy behind the transfer. Anybody that's not a Crew fan was pretty adamant about the fact that he's only had 5 goals as his most since he was a younger kid when he was playing in a lower league, and I guess that's La Liga's lower league. I don't know. But again, I think
he had 17 in the Segunda Division.
Yeah.
But that was again, that was around 2,896 minutes. So
right,
he actually he scored a lot for that many minutes. But he had played 35 games and he started 33 times. He has not started that many games since then, really.
Yeah, and I will say one thing we can speak of because we watched the league. To score 5 goals with Watford is a
Hmm.
feat of it itself because they don't score hardly at all. So give that, take that with what you will. But I mean, I think I like the signing. I think the crew needed to do something right. I mean, we've talked about this. It just seems like they've been kind of in this weird lull. Kevin Molino's back as well. I did see that he was back in training, and he was. I guess he's healthy. So we'll see because Kevin's never been one that's been completely healthy. But if that, you add back that, at least some of that, because he's not going to get back all the way to 100% because he's been out for a year and a half. But I think with all this going on, and with where the Crews sit currently, Jordan, at 11th, and they're only 3 points out of the playoff position, I think they're one of the teams that if this signing goes well, this could bounce in the right direction. And you could be looking at a Crew team that sneaks into the playoffs. And you know what happens with a Crew sneak into the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't know. I like this signing. It does show that the MLS has some signing power now. I mean, this kid was once touted as a really good prospect for the Colombian national team as a youth. Um, so I like this. And then as far as Charlotte's concerned, I just don't like the way that this is going. I guess the firing is weird, and while they might not have liked him as a manager, I do still feel like he was a good manager. So I guess it'll just depend. I don't want to overreact because they've only had 2 games without him, but
Hmm.
so far I'm kind of indifferent. I get it. It's chemistry, but I don't really like the firing.
Well, what I'll say here about Cucho too is with that Watford team, he was
Mhm.
tied for second in most goals scored. So first place for last year was Emmanuel Denise
Yeah.
of Nigeria, 10 goals, 6 assists. Joshua King had 5 goals.
Hmm.
Ismailia Sarr had 5 goals, and Cucho had 5 goals. That's almost all of Watford's goals. 3 from Pedro, 1 from Kamara, and 1 from I guess Kaka, and then 2 from Sissoko. So that's all of their goals. So for if people are a little worried about him only scoring like 5 at Watford, that is literally the second most on the team.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be fine. But depending on how he does with it, it could be a Lodero type signing. It could be a Reynoso type signing where they come in and, um, you know, change the scope of the team. And I'm not saying they'll be as impactful as that because they're more creative than he is, I think. But what I mean by that is, Ladero Sounders were struggling in 2016. He comes in, they win MLS Cup, right?
Hmm.
Reynoso, that team was struggling. Was just on the cusp in 2020. He comes in and makes a deep run into the playoffs. So it could be that kind of level for them. We'll see. It could save Caleb Porter's job here.
Yeah.
Really good. Alrighty, so let's go into Orlando. Orlando hosted Houston, I think. I think it was a hosting, right?
Hmm.
2-1 victory for Orlando. Cara scoring twice. He's up to 6 goals now. It's pretty even in possession, but the XG favored Orlando pretty heavily, 3.21 to 0.72. Maybe a good start here for at home again for Orlando,
Hmm.
who'd been kind of struggling at home recently. They're in 4th place, so they're still at a home playoff spot right now. And they've only had 1 loss in their last 5. Are you feeling any more confident about Orlando?
Yeah. A little bit. Antonio Carlos is seen back in training too, so that helps tremendously with their defense. Who they've kind of struggled, not up to their normal snuff as far as defensively. And I feel like if Orlando's going to win games, they've got to do it defensively, and then create chances on the counter, and kind of punch back at teams because they're just not. They're not a team that really have. You know what it is? I think it's more of like they don't really create from open or in space very well. Like I just feel like if they get stagnant and have to create their own third, I just feel like they have a harder time doing that. Now that being said, if Cara's going to score like this, it becomes easier because I think with the finishing rate that he has, I think it becomes more simplified, I guess, their attack because I think at times there's just so many things going forward. It becomes like who's going to score or who's going to take the shot, because I don't think they know half the time. So it becomes a lot of that. I feel better, though. When they score goals, it really feels good, especially when you have that expected goal differential, because I think that's a big thing with Orlando City is they just don't score enough, even when they defend. So anytime that we can get good goals, especially from our leading man, I think it's going to help Orlando. And plus, I think Houston had been playing well. They haven't been great lately, but to kind of beat a team that had been playing pretty well, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But I still don't think Orlando City is in the fourth spot when we come playoff time. So
could be interesting. I feel like really outside the top three, nobody really wants that fourth spot. What I mean by that is it's just kind of up in the air. It's just kind of been up in the air. Right. Orlando, Montreal, New England, Charlotte, Cincy. One of them can grab it. Chicago beat DC 1-0 in a battle for the bottom, Logan. But guess what? Chicago won, but they're still bottom. They also have a game in hand. DC has a game in hand as well. So Chicago's played one more game and is still even on points with DC. But that's one win out of their last 5 for Chicago, as DC has not won in their last 5. Shabilko and Shaqiri are still the leading goal scorers with 3 goals for Chicago. So not great for Chicago Fire, who really need to turn this around somehow. It's a big market. They're back at Soldier Field. They've got to find a way. Their attendance is actually pretty decent, 17,000. It's just they need to start putting some, I don't know, better product on the field. They're going to lose Gaga in like a year or less, right? Yeah. So that they don't even have an exciting young player that they'll be able to tout soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's confusing for me because like Charlotte has some nice pieces, but man, do they have a collection of guys, and it's just a collection of guys. So, like, how do you tear that down? Like, how do you, like, if things aren't working, how do you go, okay, well.
You said Chicago. Charlotte, you mean Fire, though?
I mean Chicago, yeah. Sorry, I got head stuffed. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, like, where do you go with Chicago? I mean, Chicago seems to somewhat have to fix their defense, which was really awful behind Calvo last year. Mm-hmm. But now it's like we can't score. And they literally spent the whole offseason, Jordan, buying attacking players.
Yeah.
So, like.
I told them, though, that Shabilko wouldn't be enough.
Right.
You know, everybody was kind of shocked. Like, why would Union want to get rid of one of their high goal scorers?
Why?
Because he doesn't create a lot of the chances. He's going to be there to put them away. But sometimes he won't even do that. But, you know, he's got 3 goals. All right. DC, by the way, just directionless is how I would describe them. You know, they get rid of Lasada when they were up there. They were up in the table when that happened. Do we remember that? They were kind of a little more mid-table, and they completely plummeted. So as much as they may not have liked his style or liked his fitness stuff, it worked for them for quite a bit, and then they drop off. Whitecaps beat Dallas. Dallas is struggling, Logan. 3 losses in their last 5. They slipped down to 4th. I think they were like 2nd a few weeks ago when we did one of these podcasts. But now they are down to 4th place. They've played 15 games. They have 25 points. They're only still 5 points off of LA. But think of it that way. If they just won 2 of these 3 that they lost, they would be top of the West. But currently have allowed Austin and Real Salt Lake to get ahead of them. They're lucky that the Galaxy have been kind of still stuck down there for a bit. But 2 wins in their last 5, 3 losses. This loss coming against a Vancouver team that is sitting 8th, but were really bad for a good chunk of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll tell you, like, Vancouver is really taking advantage of a weak schedule. If you look back since May 8th, they've got 16 points in 16 points in 8 games. So that's good. But like if you look on the return of that, they beat Toronto, they drew with San Jose, they beat Dallas, who Dallas had been kind of struggling. They've actually handed Dallas 2 losses out of those last 3.
Yeah, that's what is interesting.
Yeah, they lost to Charlotte. They beat SKC. They did beat RSL, so that's a good win. And then you look at they lost to Seattle, got trounced, but then beat Dallas, who's again struggling. So I don't really take much with this. I mean, Vancouver's winning games they should win, so good for them. But I do still have major concerns as far as one, goal consistency. I don't think they score enough. I think they're one of the worst teams in goal scored, at least bottom of the league, towards the bottom of the league with 18. And then they give up a lot. I mean, they've always given up quite a bit, but it seems like their defense is worse this year than it might have been last. So
-10 goal differential.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Vancouver fans are probably very happy because we're now chasing down what they think is a playoff spot. But with the way that these teams are playing and with the way that I think maybe Colorado can play, maybe turn around. Colorado's not been great either. But, I mean, I feel like the 1 through 7 is pretty much a lock in the West right now. And I don't really see other teams chasing the others down. Like, I really do feel like right now, the way the West is going, none of these teams can catch the 7. Even with them.
I like the way you worded that, what they think is a playoff spot. Because right. I do think that they probably think they do have a spot. But if you look at the goal differential, -10, everybody else above them is in the positive. Everybody else below them is in the negative. They are like the point that you can draw a line at and say, if they don't improve the defense and score more, right, then none of those teams are going to make it into those spots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Houston and Minnesota, -1 goal differential. Colorado, -1 goal differential. Colorado has been doing pretty well, too, at times. They beat LAFC. They beat Seattle, but they're going to lose to SKC and lose to Nashville and draw with NYCFC. So they've had a tough stretch, but they still get like 2 wins out of those. But I don't know if it's enough for the Rapids to ascend. You remember, this was a team that finished top of the West last year, just because nobody else wanted it last year. But yeah, that's how it's going for the Rapids and how it's going for the Whitecaps in Dallas. Unfortunately, Salt Lake, we're going to talk a bit about them in a bit, but RSL beat San Jose 2-0. They're up to 2nd in the West. They got outpossessed 66-34, by the way. But they had an XG of 2.70 to 55. So they had better XG. They had 16 shots to 7 of San Jose's, but just didn't have the possession as much. But they get the victory. And they're just kind of flying high, except for that loss against Vancouver. If they had if they won that game, they would be 5 wins in a row. And I think that would be the only team in MLS with that. NYCFC is close with 4 wins and a draw. But yeah, they would be the only one that would have applied to if they had done that. So props to RSL for grabbing the bull by the horns, I guess, and taking their chance and seizing their opportunity. Because, you know, they lost, Rusnak to Seattle this year, and they're just still trucking along.
It's amazing, too. If you look at their goals, there's 3 from Bobby Wood, 3 from Justin Clyde, 3 from Cordova, 2 from Silva, 2 from Miram, 2 for Tate Schmidt. Like it's just all the way down. There's even a lot of ones, like random ones, like Andrew Bodie, Ruiz. I don't know how to say that. It just seems like they have it all figured out. And Jordan, the most impressive part, the biggest thing I think that they can take away from this is Damir Kreilach has had really no impact at all because he's only played in 5 matches. So the fact that they're doing this without their best player is even more impressive. And I can tell you, Jordan, and I'm sure you have kind of felt it maybe a little bit. Maybe you'll feel it more as you walk around today or whatever. The altitude, man, like I'm sure playing in RSL is not fun. And they seem to really show out when they play at Rio Tinto. So again, I'm pumped for you just because I think you're getting to see the best team in MLS right now.
It's the vibe I'm getting. I just wish I'll see how the vibe is building up to Saturday here, but you know, just going from the airport to the hotel, felt none of that. Again, it was 3 a.m. though.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hopefully
walk not a lot of RSL fans partying at 3 a.m.
No. what I do hope is that as I walk around, I can see some merchandise places. I can
Yeah.
see some people wearing the stuff because it's a time to be excited. I
Mhm.
mean, this reminds me of the 2009 RSL team where they were winning MLS Cup and in the CONCACAF Champions League final. They were
Right.
one of the teams that had that first chance to be an MLS winner, and them having just taking me back to the days like Kyle Beckerman and stuff suiting up for them is giving me good vibes. I like RSL, so
Mhm.
people can make fun of the name all they want. I want it to stay. I love stupid names like that. Come on, Montreal Impact. Why isn't that still a thing? All right, Atlanta 2, Miami 0. Atlanta get their first win since May 7th, and that was against the Fire. Stopping a skid of 2 losses and 2 draws. One of those was a league loss. One of those was a U.S. Open Cup loss to Nashville. But I included that anyway just for all competitions. Atlanta, though, with that victory, still outside of a playoff spot. They're in 9th place. They've got 19 points. They're 1 point shy of Charlotte FC. They got 2 games in hand. Maybe, just maybe, Atlanta is going to be able to climb up this table. But we've been saying that nonstop since it's like they'll get a win or two and we'll say, all right, they're back to normal. And then they'll lose 3 or they'll lose 1 and draw 2. And then they're back to 9th again, right? Like,
Mhm.
I just don't know where this team goes. I think if they miss the playoffs this year, it's going to be time to reboot. Not necessarily with Pineda, I think, but
Mhm.
Carlos Bocanegra. At one point, he has to be held accountable for bringing in signings that don't work or just the vibe and the feeling around the team, which I don't think is great. And when you go through this many managers, I think it says more about the front office than it does the managers or the players.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a month for Luis Araujo, who's been back from that injury that he had early on the season. They get Joseph back, and he got on the score sheet in Tuesday's match when they played that American Insurance banner, just grab a banner
That's
kind of
right. Yeah.
trophy or whatever. And he assisted a goal and got a goal. So, I mean, Joseph is back. However, Jordan, we all know the story with Atlanta United. When a player comes back, how long until the next one goes down? So, again, and like you said, I think it fits perfectly. I think too, Jordan, is the fact that like they have the it's a weird situation there. Like they got somewhat of the right idea, but when they go for the big fish, they tend to grab guys that are 1 injury prone, or 2 they just hold on too long. It just seems like this club just like gets so sucked into grabbing onto somebody. Like right now, if Joseph is going to be a 10-goal kind of guy, he's not it. Like that's not going to get you anywhere in this league. So again, I think it all depends. I think this league has shown that it doesn't have any kind of mercy on anybody that's had health issues. I think it's harder to stay healthier in this league than most. And I don't know if it's because there's so much to travel and ground to cover, or if it's because the league's so crazy, or it's very CONCACAF. I don't know. It just seems like Atlanta, like you said, Jordan, they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm going to write down right now. What is it? June 22nd. Logan saying Atlanta is not going to make the playoffs. There's going to be a lot of head scratching questions heading into the offseason because, like you said, they need a heavy reset on players. But I think their coaching staff is headed in the right direction. I just don't think they've got the personnel anymore.
Something that was interesting, I think it was Tom Bogert who had posted on Twitter, and I was trying to find it, like a list of the top signings in MLS history. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And few of them are Atlanta signings that just didn't pan out.
Right.
Pretty Martinez, Barco. And you also have ones like Pizarro and Brenner, who've kind of been more up in the air. But, well, Luis Araujo, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm so
I can't say that
not
name
able
either.
to pronounce names. It's
That name
insulting.
No, it's not
Um,
because actually I was listening to the allocation disorder, and I think I want to say it's Sam is the one that doesn't pronounce names right because Paul makes fun of him. It's
oh
one of the
yeah,
two.
yeah,
Like they go
yeah,
after
yeah.
each other for it because they don't know how to pronounce names.
But I think when I look at that list, right, and also Thiago Almeida is also up there for Atlanta United, right? So how many of those are Atlanta United players? How many of those are players where they're coming over here and then just not actually making a big difference into the team? And that's what I worry about with the Chucho
Mhm.
Hernandez signing, is because I looked at that list of names and I'm like, that's not inspiring right
No,
now. Like, if I'm a Crew fan, I'm like, okay, well, hopefully this guy pans out because the rest of them have not been, which is unfortunate for when you're looking at this list. And you know what? I'll share the images of it right now. I'll just share the screen for it because I do think it could be. There you go. This is the tweet. And how much there are. You know, Almeida, 16 million. Pity Martinez, 15.5. Barco, 15. Pizarro, 12. That's Miami. Brenner, 12. Cincinnati. Pozuelo, Toronto. Probably the only one that's really made a huge impact, right? Chucho Hernandez at 10 to 10.5. And then Araujo, right? Is that how you said it?
Arujo.
Araujo. Damn it. 10 million.
Okay,
Add
so
on to
what's really confusing is his is Arujo, and then the kid for the U.S. is Araujo. I don't get
Yes.
why
Yeah,
they're
that's why I
pronounced
get,
differently.
yeah.
I don't understand it, but go ahead.
But there you go. So like what? One, two,
Yeah,
three, four. Four of the top eight are
it's
Atlanta United players
it's damning for this. Well,
for a
it's damning for that club.
huge number of money. And that's what I'm talking about too. Of at some point the front office has to be held accountable because yes, you can say they're spending. Arthur Blank is spending. The team is spending, but they're not doing it. It's ambitious, right? Everybody thought Pity Martinez would be huge here. Everybody thought these players would be great players here, but something is not working with that. And I do think that has something to do with Atlanta as a whole and that structure. But I don't want to too much time on Atlanta. We talked about the Revs beating Minnesota. What I also want to say about this, I looked at the XG stats, Logan. So the Revs win 2-1, but Minnesota United had a 1.4 XG to New England's 0.4. Not great.
No.
Not great for Minnesota to give up that game. But that was also Matt Turner's last home game. He played on the bench.
Yeah.
As he's on his way to Arsenal. Rumors where Arsenal didn't want him to play. I don't know how valid that is, or if it was just. I assume that's the case. He had to go over and do his medical anyway. Imagine if he got injured in that. But great finish by Gustavo Bo to win the game. So just great finish there. NYCFC draw with the Rapids, and again, this is what I'm talking about. The Rapids have kind of been pretty decent lately. I don't know. That's they just need to be able to shore it up a bit to get into a playoff spot, I think. And then the last thing we have to talk about before we preview stuff is the U.S. Open Cup. Sacramento Republic beat the Galaxy 2-1. Not a great game from Jonathan Klinsmann. But that's what we were rooting for, right? We said that would be great. If the Union Omaha can beat SKC, we will have guaranteed a USL team into the final. And that is key. That would be great for the U.S. Open Cup, and it'd be great for storylines. It'd be just great for everything.
And is the U.S. Open Cup winner given a spot in the Champions League?
Yes.
Could you imagine? Oh, that'd be great. I would.
That's why
it's
so frustrating, right? Galaxy go out there without starting Chicharito.
Yeah.
You know, they go out there. These teams don't care about the Open Cup, and then it's the easiest route to a Champions League spot, Logan. It's easier. That's why all these Union fans were really upset when the Union got knocked off to Orlando because they didn't play. We didn't play our best players, and when we put them in, it was kind of like too late. And this is the easiest way to get in there. We're going to make MLS playoffs. The Union are going to be in the playoffs, right? It would be a disaster if they fall out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, it would.
So they're going to make the playoffs. We're not going to win the Supporter Shield. Try to win a cup. I mean, especially this means a lot to Union fans that I know because we've been in that final 3 freaking times and lost each time, 2 of those at home. 2 of the times I was in the damn stadium. So it means a lot to me. And it seems like some of these teams just don't care. And that sucks. So I'm glad to see teams that do care, these lower level teams, making it through.
Hudson River Derby tonight, 8 o'clock for U.S. Open Cup.
So 6 o'clock my time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, what?
I'm in mountain time
I forgot
right
where you
now.
were. I was like, what? I was like, did they change that on like East Coast? Like, or is Philly now? Or like,
yes.
Maryland now on
the Maryland time zone.
Yeah, right. We were tired of that bullcrap. But no, yeah. I think you're right, though. Like, it'll be cool. It'll be cool if the USL teams win it, but it's also sucks because the MLS clubs aren't trying. So it's like, if I'm Orlando, I win this thing. Like, we're not going to win MLS Cup. We're not going to win Supporter Shield. Let's just freaking go for it. Like, let's go for it. Let's bash up on some of these USL teams, maybe. And I think SKC could lose, Jordan. So I think it's very likely that we could get a USL team playing in the final of the U.S. Open Cup, which would be phenomenal. I think it'd be the best thing in the world if we could see one of these teams like matching up against Red Bull.
It's been a while too.
Yeah.
I'll have to see the last time they were in. I'm going to look that up while we're talking.
Okay. Yeah.
But what else is just frustrating about it, and here's why they don't take it seriously, Logan, is because the USL team or NASL, NISA, all these lower levels below have not won one since the Rochester Rhinos in 1999.
Okay.
And none have reached the final since 2008. You know who reached that final?
The Battery.
Yes, the Charleston Battery. So they know that they can just field these inadequate teams, and if they go up against a USL team, great. If they, they'll make it through. They're not worried, right? Mm-hmm. And even when they go up against other MLS teams, sometimes both are fielding, backups, and they just don't care about it. And they'll care about it when it gets more to a reality. And that's why, even though you said it would mean a lot if USL wins it, but also maybe not because MLS teams are not trying, I think that's what we need. I think we need one of these teams to win the darn thing and punish them. You want to field backups the whole time? Then I'm going to knock you off, and we're going to win this, and we're going to be in the Champions League when you could have been here. Can you imagine if a team like NYCFC or Red Bulls reach the final and lose to Sac Republic, and it's because they fielded like a low-strength team or whatever, and you're like, those team fans are like, we could have guaranteed Champions League, but we're instead, and we could have won a cup. Let's not even just think about it for CONCACAF Champions League, because some teams don't even care about that. They'll field inadequate lineups for that. But when you look at winning a trophy, a team like the Red Bulls have not won a lot of trophies, mostly supporter shields. They haven't won. I don't know if they've won an Open Cup off the top of my head. Looking at no, they haven't. The Red Bulls have not. So this would be a chance for the Red Bulls to do this. This would be a chance for NYCFC to do it, but they're probably going to say they're focusing on winning another supporter shield or whatever. SKC, though, I want to point out, have 4 titles, Logan. So they could take this seriously, and if I'm Vermees, I would, because this is a big moment. But also, they have a game on Saturday against Seattle at Lumen Field. Which one are you prioritizing? Well, obviously, you're going to prioritize the league because you want to be able to make the climb, right? But to me, their season's dead in the water. I go for this cup. I go for something I can lift and say, you know what, we'll be in the Champions League next year. And, we'll see how it goes there. And hopefully next year they don't have 2 of their main DPs out for the whole season. But I'm really excited for the Open Cup. I'm hoping I can catch some of the games. 6 o'clock is right when we're going to this dinner thing. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch any of these, but hoping to. I will say, while the Union have not won an Open Cup, the Philadelphia Ukrainians have won 4 of them.
Nice.
So there you go. All right, let's get to our match of the week preview, if I can hit it.
It's time for the match of the week preview.
Match of the week preview is where we preview the matches of the week. We have, we tell you which one to watch. I'm telling you which one to watch because it's the one I'm going to be at. RSL versus the Crew. One reason is because I'll be there, so look for me on TV. But also, two is RSL is playing so good right now. We talked about it already. They are must-watch soccer. Their team form, as we discussed, 1 loss in their last 5, 4 wins, no draws in those last 5. And if we look at how they are previously against the Crew, I just want to point out head-to-head because I did that last week, and it was almost even, and this one is almost even. They've won 4, they've drawn 4, and Crew have won 5. So Crew have the edge here, but as we talked about, Crew not in great form. They only have 1 win in their last 5, and it was against a middling Atlanta United team. They drew with Charlotte. They drew with the Revs. They lost to MICFC. They lost to the LAFC. So when they run up against good teams, they usually lose, and that's why I'm going to predict that the Crew are going to lose this game. And I'm going to say we usually don't add predictions, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to say 2-1 RSL.
That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to waving at you. Hopefully you can stand up, or like if you can't, Jordan, run on the field. They tend to like that. People like the player. Yeah. In fact, they like it so much that people chase you around, like asking for your autograph. It's really strange. No. Meanwhile, like you're going to show up and RSL security team is going to be there going, I heard on this podcast that this guy's going to run on the field. No. Are you ready for my match? Or
yeah.
Okay. So I was going to go Austin, Dallas, but I was like, no, Dallas has been struggling, so that's not as fun as it would have been had they been playing well. And Austin hasn't been playing that well either. So I'm going to go with the big one. I'm going to go with LAFC and Red Bull. This one's in Bank of California. Jordan, out of their years of existence, they've actually played twice, 2018 and 2019. Both really crazy games. 4-2 was their last matchup. And that was at the bank as well. 4-2 LAFC won, and then 2-1 Red Bull won at Red Bull Arena. So 2 top of the conferences teams. So you got Red Bull in second over on the East, and then LAFC at the top of the West. I'm looking forward to that matchup. I really think that'll be fun. It's on Sunday. It's the 26th. That's going to be at, it looks like 3:00 our time. I don't know, but I don't know why.
Yeah, I got the times and stuff here. Okay. So Friday, we got Friday night soccer, Cincinnati, Orlando at 7:30 Eastern. Then on Saturday, June 25th, Seattle at 3:00 versus SKC. That's on ABC. DC versus Nashville on ESPN at 5. Montreal, Charlotte, 7:30. Toronto, Atlanta, 7:30. Houston, Chicago, Unimas, TUDN, and Twitter, 8:00. Miami, 8:00 versus Minnesota. Austin and Dallas at 9. Salt Lake, Columbus, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. my time. So that'll be a good time for me. San Jose, LA at 10:00. That's on Unimas, TUDN, and Twitter. 10:30, Portland versus Colorado. Sunday, June 26th. You know what's great about that day, Logan?
It's your birthday.
My birthday. LAFC versus New York, Red Bull, 3:00 ABC. Philadelphia Union, probably going to disappoint me on my birthday. They go up against NYCFC, 6:00 FS1, and Vancouver, New England, 8:00 on MLS Live on ESPN+.
Wow, you got a good birthday present, man. Those are some good games.
Those are great games. Hopefully I'll be able to watch them. That'll be 1 and 4:00 my time.
When do you leave?
I leave Tuesday sometime.
Holy cow, so you're there a while.
I'm there a whole week.
Wow.
So Saturday I'm going to the game. Sunday I'm going to, I guess, a AAA baseball game for the Salt Lake Bees. After that ends would probably be around the time the Union play. And I will be she'll be done her event stuff Saturday. So we'll have our own day, Sunday and Monday, to kind of explore. So that's what we'll be doing.
find a good sports bar on Sunday.
Yeah, they
Just
won't
like,
be playing
my
in the
birthday on.
say it's my birthday.
Yeah,
Put the game on, man.
right. God, stupid people. The Jazz aren't playing, so who cares?
Right, it's their only other team, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, we got the night drive going, which I was in a night drive last night getting from the airport.
Was it as relaxing?
No, we hit a big pothole.
Oh, that's awesome. Like you guys start rolling across the shuttle.
Trying to watch Obi-Wan on my phone while we're driving. No, I'm not driving. I have a shuttle guy driving me, and he's trying to make conversation with us. I had to pause it. I was like, I'll watch this back at the room, I guess.
I was wondering, you texted me at 5 a.m. my time or something crazy.
Yeah, I watched it as soon as we got back to the room. I got 7 minutes into it on the shuttle, and then I watched the rest of it here.
Have you slept?
I slept about 3 hours on the flight, and I slept a few hours here. What time did it? 4 hours here at the hotel.
Decent enough.
It says my laptop's gonna die. I need to find the control. Here it is. But yes, it was a good time. So if you want to reach us at all, or if you're in Salt Lake, you see me around. If you want to hit us up, Twitter at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or email us stateside@gmail.com. If you want my thoughts on Obi-Wan, I'm breaking those down on the Pod Awakens, our Star Wars podcast. So you can check that out. But yeah, have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you all next time, and happy birthday to me.